My name is Amanda Peterson. At 35 years old, I never imagined I'd face such conflict with my family. The countryside house my grandmother Eliza left me was my sanctuary, my refuge for the soul. Every weekend, it was the only place that felt like a real home. But then, one Sunday night, everything shattered. I overheard voices from the kitchen, my parents' voices, and they destroyed that peace in an instant. Let's list it in the spring. The market's hot right now. Amanda only uses it on weekends anyway. And Cassandra's having a baby. I wanted to believe I'd misheard, but those voices, they were unmistakably my parents. In that moment, something inside me broke. My family was planning to give away my grandmother's legacy, as if it were nothing, as if it belonged to them. The fireplace, the apple trees, the memories of summers with grandma. To them, it was just an asset, just money. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? How would you stand up to your family? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Because this is where the real story begins. This is how I found myself thrown into battle with my own family. What comes next? An unbelievable betrayal. And the reversal I orchestrated in response. Grandmother Eliza had always been my ally. From the time I was small, she was there for me. My parents were busy doting on my younger sister, Cassandra. I was always an afterthought, always second. To me, Grandma's old farmhouse was more than a building. It was my emotional refuge. And she was the only person who truly understood me. Every summer, from age 8 to 17, I spent 3 months with her, 3 full months. In the mornings, I'd follow her through the misty fields. We'd pick tomatoes and zucchini. I'd get covered in mud. At midday, we'd bake her famous apple pies in that old gas oven. The sweet scent of apples from the trees outside would fill the kitchen. At night, I'd listen to the summer insects. We'd sit on the porch in the rocking chairs, and Grandma would tell me stories from the past. She'd hold my hands in hers, and she'd repeat the same words, over and over. Amanda, no matter how kind you are, never let people trample on your heart, not even family, especially family. You must never forget your boundaries. At the time, I didn't fully understand, but later, those words became my lifeline. Grandma's house was built in the 1940s. It was a classic farmhouse. The living room had a stone fireplace. In winter, it warmed the entire house with a gentle heat. The oak beams supported the structure. The floors creaked softly with every step. It was only 90 minutes from the city by car, but it felt like another world. Quiet, peaceful. Birds sang in the morning. At night, the stars filled the sky. Grandma loved to paint. She'd converted a small shed in the backyard into a studio. The north-facing window let in soft, beautiful light. The room always smelled of paintbrushes and dried oils. To me, it was like a secret hideout. 5 years ago, Grandma passed away. She was 88. I fell into deep grief. Her will came with a handwritten letter. Amanda, I leave this house to you. You're the only one who truly loves this land, the only one who will carry its story forward. Reading those words, I heard her gentle voice in my heart. Tears streamed down my face. After that, I visited the house every weekend. I repaired the old plumbing and electrical systems. I revived the garden using seeds from Grandma's apple trees. Sitting on the porch, I could feel everything. The smell of summer rain, the crackling of firewood in the fireplace, Grandma's laughter as she shared life lessons. It all still lived there. This house wasn't just property. It was where Grandma's love and memories took physical form. It was part of my identity. That's why, when I learned my family saw it as nothing more than something to sell for cash, I felt utterly betrayed. Cassandra announced her pregnancy 3 months earlier at our Sunday dinner. The moment she sat down, she beamed. I'm pregnant. After a beat of surprise, my parents erupted in joy. Dad opened a bottle of wine. Mom teared up with happiness. I offered my congratulations, but deep down, I felt uneasy. She didn't have stable work or a stable home. Was she really ready to be a mother? That fear became reality quickly. The very next week, Mom started saying things. That tiny apartment won't work for raising a baby. Dad chimed in. We need to help them get a bigger place. At first, I thought it was just parental concern, but the conversation kept shifting to where they'd live, and Mom kept glancing at me with meaning in her eyes. Sunday dinners had been a family tradition since Grandma was alive. No matter how busy work got, I always tried to attend. I valued hearing about my parents' and sisters' lives. But lately, the dinners were all about Cassandra's baby preparations. I felt like an outsider. That night was no different. Beneath the warm atmosphere, there was something cold lurking. Mom had baked Cassandra's favorite apple pie. Dad was unusually relaxed in a casual shirt instead of his suit. But between them, I sensed tension. After dinner, I excused myself to wash my hands. On my way back through the hallway, I heard Dad's voice, low and deliberate, coming from the kitchen. In the spring, we'll list the house. The market's strong right now. We'll get a good price. I froze. My ears burned. That house. Did he mean Grandma's house? Then Mom's voice followed. Amanda only uses it on weekends anyway. Cassandra's about to have a baby. They need a bigger place. My chest felt like ice. And Dad continued without hesitation. We'll use the proceeds as a down payment for them. Amanda will understand. It's for family. Mom laughed lightly. We'll tell her after dessert. She won't be able to say no. Not when it's for the baby. The conversation ended there. I stood in the hallway, trembling. My hands were shaking. The house Grandma left me. The house I'd poured my heart into preserving. To my parents, it was just a funding source. A chill ran down my spine. I steadied my breathing so they wouldn't notice. I returned to the living room as if nothing had happened. Cassandra was scrolling through her phone, smiling innocently. The upstairs room would be perfect for the baby. The morning light is so nice. Mom nodded with a smile. Of course, we wouldn't actually live there, but we want to give them a space like that. That single sentence hit me like a weight in my chest. In her mind, Grandma's house was already theirs. Soon, Mom brought out the apple pie. Dad brought coffee. After a silence, Dad cleared his throat. Amanda, we need to talk to you. About Grandma's house. I answered calmly. You mean my house, right? Dad's face stiffened for a moment, but he quickly forced a smile. Well, yes. But right now, we need to think about Cassandra. She's about to become a mother. Mom's voice turned sweet. You can't raise a baby in that cramped apartment. If we sell the country house, we can give them a bright future. I set down my cup quietly. My tone was ice cold. Why are we talking about selling my house? Dad's irritation showed. His voice grew sharper. You don't even live there. It's just a weekend place. Family needs should come first. Mom added in a soothing tone. You have a stable career. You can always get another house. Your sister's the one struggling right now. I looked at Cassandra. She gave a small smile and shrugged. I've been imagining the baby in that upstairs room. The morning light would be perfect. In that moment, something inside me collapsed. No, I'm not selling that house. My words cut through the air like a blade. Tyler tried to calm the situation, but I was already standing. Thank you for dinner. I'm leaving now. Mom's voice chased after me. We're not finished talking. I didn't turn around. I closed the front door behind me. That sound. It was proof. Proof that after years of being the good daughter, I'd finally drawn a line with my family. As I drove home, Grandma's voice echoed in my heart. Even with family, never let kindness be exploited. From that day forward, I was stepping into a real battle with my family. That night, I returned to my apartment, but my heart was pounding in my ears. I couldn't sleep. The country house Grandma left me was the only place I could call home, and they wanted to sell it, like it was nothing. For the family, anger and disappointment swirled inside me. I stayed restless until morning. The following week, my phone wouldn't stop. Calls and messages from Mom. Let's talk calmly. You're the older sister. You should be willing to share. The words sounded gentle, but beneath them, there was pressure. The unspoken expectation that as the eldest, I should just endure. Dad went even further. He started sending links to real estate listings. This one's perfect for raising kids. This property is a great deal right now. Every single message assumed I'd sacrifice. Not one of them asked for my input or my permission. But the most shocking moment came that weekend. Mom called. Next Saturday, Dad's realtor friend wants to see the house. You don't need to be there. We'll use our spare key to let him in. That single sentence made my blood boil. They were planning to show my house without my permission? This wasn't a family discussion. This was trespassing. After I hung up, I thought about the house, the polished wooden floors, the vintage green refrigerator, the stone fireplace. For 5 years, I'd spent every free weekend there, repairing it, maintaining it, filling Grandma's presents. I won't let them show it to strangers without my consent. In that moment, something inside me snapped. That evening, I called my best friend, Stephanie. They're planning to use the spare key without my permission. Stephanie was beyond shocked. She was furious. That's not family behavior. That's a burglary plan. You can't stay silent. After a sleepless night, I reached a conclusion. If anyone was going to sell that house, it would be me, on my terms. The following Monday, I walked into the office in my business suit. I went straight to my boss Darren's desk. Darren, I want to list Grandma's house. As soon as possible. My voice was steady. There was no hesitation. But just before I clicked the listing button, my finger trembled. On the screen was a photo of Grandma's house, the fireplace, the apple trees, the porch. Is this really the right thing to do? A small voice whispered in my mind. I rushed to the office restroom. I stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot. My cheeks were hollow. Am I being cruel? Am I abandoning my family? I pulled out my phone. I opened the photo of Grandma's last letter. I leave this house to you. I traced her handwriting with my finger. The trembling stopped. No, I'm protecting myself. When I returned to my desk, the doubt was gone. I switched into full professional mode. I channeled my anger into focus, razor-sharp focus. To showcase the house of charm, I photographed the apple trees swaying in the spring breeze. I wrote detailed descriptions of the antique rocking chair by the fireplace, the north-facing light in the studio. I priced it slightly below market value, not to diminish Grandma's memory, but to find a buyer quickly, someone sincere. I also set strict conditions. Viewings by appointment only pre-qualified buyers with proof of funds, no open houses. This way, my parents couldn't sneak in and spy. I scheduled viewings for a Saturday when my parents would be at a charity golf event. That was careful planning on my part. That weekend, I arrived at the house early. I made sure everything was perfect. I opened the living room curtains, polished the wooden floors, arranged fresh lavender from the garden in a vase. Several buyers came through. Some were investors. They wanted to turn it into a vacation rental. The thought of Grandma's house becoming a rental property made my chest ache. But then, the last visitor arrived, a man named Gabriel Jackson. The moment he stepped through the door, he moved slowly, taking in the atmosphere. He ran his hand gently along the oak banister. This craftsmanship, you don't see this anymore. At the end of the tour, I showed him Grandma's studio in the converted garage. He stood silently, gazing at the light from the north-facing window. My late wife was a painter, he said quietly. She always sought this kind of soft light. Warmth spread through my chest. This man, he might honor the spirit of this house. At dusk, we sat together on the porch, in the rocking chairs. Neither of us spoke for a while. This house has a special story, doesn't it? Gabriel asked gently. I didn't say much. It's hard to let go, but it's my choice. That evening, Gabriel's agent sent an offer. Full price, immediate acceptance, flexible closing terms, and a promise to preserve the house, to care for it. I signed without hesitation. Over the next few weeks, I packed up Grandma's belongings, her handwritten recipe cards, photo frames, handmade quilts, things that had no price tag, but were priceless to me. I told my parents I was busy with work. I kept my plans hidden, but somewhere deep inside, I knew a storm was coming. When my family discovered the truth, there would be a reckoning. That morning, I woke to a rare, unscheduled Saturday. Sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, the smell of reheated coffee, the dry sound of toast popping up. 2 weeks had passed since all the paperwork was finalized. My heart was finally beginning to settle. I was tidying my inbox. I just sent off a work report. Then my phone rang, loud and sharp, cutting through the quiet. The screen showed Dad's name. My chest tightened slightly. Amanda. Finally. We have a problem. There's a strange man at your house. He's threatening to call the police. says we are trespassing. The steam from my coffee seemed to chill instantly. This was it, the moment I'd been preparing for. What do you mean? I asked, keeping my voice as calm as possible. Your mother, Cassandra, and I came to measure the rooms for baby furniture. We used the spare key to get in, but there's a man inside. He told us to get out. Says it's private property. He's threatening to call the cops. I took a short breath. In out. My mind shifted. Quiet, but decisive. Don't move. I'm on my way. Hurry. He's really going to call the police. I hung up, grabbed my bag and keys. I practically ran out the door. The elevator felt impossibly slow. Inside, guilt and liberation warred in my chest. Guilt, the voice that said I betrayed my family. Liberation, the faint pride of having protected my boundaries. Both were real. I didn't deny either one. I got into my car. I pressed down on the accelerator. I took the highway, then the familiar country road. The spring wind swept across the fields. White clouds drifted low. Then I saw it. Grandma's house. My heartbeat surged. A blue and white police car sat in front of the house. Behind it, my parents' SUV. Mom was sitting on the porch steps. Her face was as pale as paper. Dad was talking rapidly to a police officer. His gestures were getting bigger, more agitated. In the passenger seat of the SUV, Cassandra stared at me. Her eyes were red and swollen. She was shouting something I couldn't hear. Standing beside the officer was Gabriel. His posture was straight, his expression calm. I parked. The sound of the car door closing echoed louder than it should have. My footsteps on the gravel drew everyone's attention. Amanda, thank God you're here. Dad's voice was filled with relief. Tell this officer, this is your house. We had permission to be here. I took a deep breath. I stood directly in front of Dad. The words I'd prepared came out clearly, without hesitation. No, this is no longer my house. A beat of silence. I sold it 2 weeks ago. The current owner is Gabriel Jackson. The silence was deafening. Even the wind seemed to stop. Mom's hands clenched on her lap. Her knuckles turned white. Cassandra's mouth hung open, frozen. Dad's expression shifted rapidly, from relief to confusion, to panic. What are you saying? You can't just sell it without. It wasn't just it was mine, I interrupted. Legally. Completely. The paperwork is done. Mom struggled to her feet. Her voice shook. That's impossible. We were planning to sell the house, to use the money for Cassandra's down payment. That was your plan, I said coldly. But clearly, not mine. You used the key without my permission. And today, you entered a property you don't own. This is trespassing. The officer turned to my parents. His tone was measured. I understand the situation. The current owner has verified his identity and provided proof of ownership. You entered the property without the owner's permission. Is that correct? No, wait. Dad protested. It's just a family misunderstanding. A miscommunication. Misunderstanding or not, you crossed a boundary, Gabriel said calmly, but firmly. I won't press charges, but I need your promise. No more unauthorized entry. Mom looked lost. Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. Suddenly, the SUV door flew open. Cassandra stumbled out, her shoes barely on her feet. Her tear-streaked eyes bore into me. How could you do this? She screamed. We needed this house for the baby. You ruined my dream. Are you happy now? You need a home, I said evenly. But it doesn't have to be mine. I knew it. You've always been jealous of me. Cassandra's breath came in gasps. You even hate the baby, don't you? That's not true. Emotion rose in my throat. I swallowed it down. I'm just protecting my boundaries. Dad grabbed Cassandra's shoulder. Enough, he said quietly. He led her back to the car. The officer closed his notepad. Since the owner has declined to file a complaint, I'm issuing a warning. But any future unauthorized entry will result in legal action. That's all. Mom nodded slightly, still looking down. Dad's expression was hard. He avoided my gaze. The SUV doors slammed shut. The engine roared. Gravel scattered under the tires. The car disappeared down the road. The police car slowly turned. It drove away. Silence returned. And with it, the sound of birds in the spring air. Gabriel turned to me, a soft smile on his face. That must have been difficult. Would you like to come in? I have fresh coffee. Thank you, I said with a faint smile. But I think I'll head home. I need to clear my head. Anytime. Gabriel nodded. This house welcomes your memories. I glanced at the porch steps, the place where Grandma and I used to sit, where we watched summer storms, where she told me stories about life. It wasn't mine anymore, but my story was etched here, forever. I placed my hand on the doorframe. Silently, I said goodbye. After the SUV disappeared in a cloud of dust, I sat in my car, hands on the steering wheel, breathing deeply. Inside, exhaustion and relief layered over each other. I'd lost the place, but I'd reclaimed myself. That realization spread through me quietly. That night, I returned to my apartment. My phone was lit up with missed calls and messages. Mom's voicemail was tearful. How could you do this? You've destroyed this family. And you don't even care? Dad's email was cold and short. We need to discuss the sale proceeds. That money belongs to the family. Contact me. Cassandra sent a long, furious text. You stole a home from me and my baby. I'll never forgive you. I didn't reply. I set the phone face down on the table. Silence can be the strongest boundary. I turned off the kitchen light, stood by the window. The night breeze lifted the curtains. The distant sound of the highway rolled in like waves. It reminded me, just a little, of the sounds from Grandma's porch. That place was no longer mine, but the warmth in my memory? No one could sell that. No one could take it. The next morning, I got ready for work. I looked at myself in the mirror. There were faint shadows under my eyes. But in those eyes, there was something new. A core. Strength. At the office, Darren gave me a casual wave. That listing? Perfect execution. Very professional. I smiled and turned to my task list. Work doesn't betray you. Numbers. Contracts. Responsibilities. There's no room for vague family obligations there. At lunch, I scrolled through my messages. Dad had sent a photo of a certified letter, demanding I hand over the sale proceeds. After reading it, I felt a quiet anger. But strangely, no fear. I called a law firm, spoke briefly with an attorney. Don't worry. The title and sale are clean. From now on, direct all communication to me. When I hung up, a weight lifted from my shoulders. A few days later, I met Stephanie at a small bar, the sound of ice clinking in glasses. Pleasant, rhythmic. It's over, huh? She said. Over. And beginning. I replied. Through the condensation on my glass, I thought of Grandma's face. Kindness isn't surrender. I'd finally internalized that truth. Over the following weeks, my family's reactions split predictably. Dad kept up formal pressure through legal language. Mom tried emotional appeals. Cassandra painted me as a heartless sister on social media. A storm of sympathy and criticism swirled around me. I turned off notifications. I only replied to people who mattered. Loneliness? Yes, but not isolation. At night, I'd sit on my balcony, water the herbs I'd started growing in containers. The scent of mint would rise, small and green, the color of a real future. About a month after the confrontation, my life began moving on a new track. One Monday morning, Darren stopped by my desk. Amanda, the branch manager, wants to talk. It's about a promotion. In the meeting room, they offered me a senior agent position, a 15% raise. Your judgment and negotiation skills have become a model for the team, especially how you handled that farmhouse sale. You separated emotion from business. You delivered the best outcome. That's what a professional does. My ability to stay calm when I sold Grandma's house? It had translated into professional recognition. The strength to maintain boundaries? It's a weapon in the business world too. I left the office as the sun dipped low. Golden light filled the spaces between buildings. Deep in my chest, I heard Grandma's voice. Well done, Amanda. I smiled to myself. I was careful about how to use the proceeds from the sale. I met with an investment advisor several times. I put half into diversified, stable investments. The other half, I used it to buy a small condominium in the city. House hunting was actually fun this time. This was mine. Completely mine. No one could take it from me. South-facing balcony. Morning sunlight flooding the living room. Compact, but functional. When I signed the contract, my hand didn't tremble at all. On moving day, I carried the last box into my new place. Then I stood on the balcony. The noise of the city hummed distantly. The sky shifted from orange to indigo. It didn't have the space of Grandma's house. No porch. No apple trees. But it had something even more important. My choice. This is my place. I said it out loud. The words dissolved into the air and became fact. Work and personal life both flourished. My relationships with colleagues deepened. On weekends, I had brunch with Stephanie and other friends. I picked up watercolor painting again, something I'd abandoned years ago. Like Grandma, I set up a small easel by the window. The first thing I painted, Grandma's house from memory. The apple trees. The porch. Smoke rising from the chimney. As I layered the paint, I realized something. The house wasn't lost. It lived forever. Inside me. One Saturday afternoon, I was drinking coffee on the balcony. I noticed something. My planter of cherry tomatoes had produced small red fruit. I thought of the summers I'd spent with Grandma. The smell of soil. Morning dew. Picking warm tomatoes with small hands. A single tear rolled down my cheek. Not from sadness. From gratitude. Contact from my family gradually tapered off. Dad's legal threats were handled efficiently by my attorney. Mom's emotional messages went unanswered. Cassandra's social media attacks eventually got buried under the chaos of her late pregnancy. In the silence, I reclaimed my life. 3 months later, Tyler sent me a short message. "There's something I want to tell you. Can I call?" I thought about it overnight. Then I replied, "Sure." The next evening, Tyler called. "Thanks for making time. First, I want to apologize." His voice was tired, but sincere. "Back then, I got swept up in everything. I never wanted your house. Not once. But your parents talked about it like it was already decided. I couldn't push back. I'm truly sorry." I listened in silence. Also, Cassandra and I actually signed a lease on a small apartment. We'd been saving for a down payment for 2 years. I wanted to surprise everyone. But after that whole mess, I couldn't bring it up. "I see," I said quietly. "Congratulations." "Thank you, Cassandra." She's not ready to apologize yet. She's still processing everything. She's finally starting to understand what it means to be a mother. The weight of it. Silence stretched between us. "I heard about the education fund you set up. For Lily." Tyler's voice wavered slightly. "What?" "The lawyer contacted us. There's a trust in Lily's name. For her education." I didn't respond. I wanted to invest in people," I said slowly. "Not houses. Lily's innocent. I want her to have the chance to learn. To grow. That's all. Thank you, truly, thank you." After we hung up, I stared out the window. Revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about becoming happy yourself. And sometimes, it's about giving someone a chance to change. The seasons turned. Summer faded into autumn. Gabriel sent me occasional photos of Grandma's house. Apple buds in the backyard. Shadows on the porch. A rainbow after summer rain. I'm keeping up with the maintenance. I spend mornings reading in the studio. His messages carry the warmth of a life well lived. One Saturday, he wrote, "I used your grandmother's recipe to bake an apple pie. I burned it a little, but the smell? It was just like our house." I closed my eyes. The scent of burnt crust, cinnamon, sweet baked dough. Memory rose across time. "Thank you, Gabriel. I'm sure Grandma's pleased." I typed the reply with a smile. The house hadn't been lost. It had just begun a new story. In early winter, Tyler sent another short message. Cassandra had the baby. A girl. 3.2 kilograms. Mother and baby are both healthy. A photo was attached. Tiny fingers. Tiny nails. A wrinkled forehead. The moment I saw it, warmth filled my chest. In the middle of all the family fractures, a new life had emerged. Like a spring, I typed a reply. "Congratulations. May her life be filled with love." Then I ordered a small silver spoon. I had it engraved. "To Lily with hope." At first, I planned to send it anonymously, but at the last moment, I changed my mind. I wrote my name in the sender field. Boundaries can stay in place, but bridges? Those are allowed too. 2 months after the birth, I came home from work to find a handwritten envelope in my mailbox. Mom's handwriting. My heart beat a little faster, but I sat calmly on the couch. I opened it. The letter was different. Raw. Honest. "Amanda, since you sold the house, we've had a lot of time to think. Cassandra is struggling with sleepless nights now. For the first time, she's learning what it means to be a mother. She says that even in a small apartment, if she and Tyler work together, they'll manage. Your grandmother's house was always yours. We treated it like shared family property. We trampled your feelings. That day, Grandma entrusted the house to you. She did that because you loved it most. You understood it. We should have respected that. Thank you for the silver spoon you sent Lily. Tyler also told us about the education fund. Now, we understand how deeply you thought about everything, how much you cared. I'm not asking you to forgive us right away. What we did won't be easily forgotten. But I hope that someday, after time has passed, we can talk again. I'd like Lily to meet her aunt. When you're ready. No pressure. May your life be filled with peace. Love. Mom. I finished reading. A single tear rolled down my cheek. Not from anger. Not from sadness. Something more complex. Forgiveness and forgetting aren't the same thing. But people can change. With time. I folded the letter carefully. I placed it in a drawer. I didn't write back immediately. But maybe, someday, I would. 2 months later, I decided to reach out. On my terms. I might be able to stop by next Sunday. Just for a little while. Mom's reply came instantly. We'll be waiting. Don't push yourself. Sunday afternoon, I parked in front of my parents' house. I turned off the engine. Took 3 deep breaths. I knocked on the door. Mom answered. You came. Her eyes were a little red. Just for a bit. When I stepped into the living room, the atmosphere was different. Quieter. More restrained. Mom didn't give orders like before. Dad cleared his throat repeatedly, but eventually asked in a low voice. Coffee? Cassandra sat on the couch, holding Lily, dark circles under her eyes, her hair slightly disheveled. The exhaustion of motherhood was written on her face. Hey sis. I nodded quietly. Can I see her? Lily's tiny hand wrapped around my finger. Warm soft the weight of a new life. The silver spoon, thank you. Cassandra's voice was strained. Did you like it? I'll treasure it. When Lily's older, I'll tell her it was from her aunt. There was a pause. Then Cassandra looked down. Back then, I'm so sorry. I trampled all over your life. I didn't realize until I became a mother myself. Raising a person is so hard. So much responsibility. You can't just rely on others. I didn't respond right away. I just looked at Lily and smiled softly. One step at a time. Cassandra wiped her eyes and nodded. After the meal, I sat on the porch with Dad. Autumn wind blew gently. The trees in the yard were turning yellow. Dad was still awkward, but he looked at me once and spoke. The education fund. That was admirable. Also, we've decided to help Tyler and Cassandra with furniture for their new place. They'll handle the monthly payments themselves. I nodded briefly. That's good. You were right. That house was yours. Dad's words were short, but they were enough. The family support that should have come first, it finally took the right form. As I was leaving, Mom walked me to the door. Will you come again? Maybe. It was a vague answer, but Mom smiled. That's enough. Take your time. I got into my car, looked in the rearview mirror. Mom was waving. I waved back. Just a small wave. Reconciliation doesn't happen in a straight line. It moves backward, then forward, little by little. I decided to accept that over the following months, we gathered occasionally. Sometimes it went well. Sometimes it didn't. One Sunday, Cassandra called me out of the blue. Sis. Lily smiled. For the first time, her voice was bursting with excitement. Congratulations. Next time you visit, I want you to see it. She's so adorable. I'm looking forward to it. After I hung up, I looked out the window. My relationship with my family would never return to what it was before, but we could build something new, maintaining boundaries while building bridges. That was the path I'd chosen. Gabriel's house, the place that was no longer mine, but where my story began. I was invited there from time to time. One autumn day, Gabriel and I raked leaves together. We built a compost pile in the corner of the yard. Sitting in the rocking chairs on the porch, I heard Grandma's voice carried on the wind. Amanda, kindness blooms within boundaries. Gabriel brought out warm apple cider. We sat in silence, rocking gently, watching the autumn twilight descend. This house is happy, Gabriel said quietly. I can feel your grandmother's spirit. She's still here. I think so too. The sun sank below the horizon. The sky shifted from orange to purple. I closed my eyes. I felt Grandma's warmth. The house hadn't been lost. It had simply changed form, and it was still alive. One evening, I sat on my balcony, watching the sky change from gold to deep blue. My planter of basil had sprouted small flowers. The tomatoes had already given me a second harvest. Using the methods Grandma taught me, I'd created a small garden. I opened my phone, pulled up a note I'd saved as a draft. Family isn't about ownership or control. It's built on respect. I send it to myself. Then I closed the note. In the planter next to me, lavender swayed, purple blooms moving in the breeze. I'd grown it from seeds I'd brought from Grandma's garden. The wind blew. The scent of lavender spread. I closed my eyes. In the end, I didn't lose the house. What Grandma gave me wasn't wood and land. It was a way of living, a way of never diminishing myself. The warmth of that porch, the sweet smell of the kitchen, the glow of the stone fireplace, all of it now lives inside my chest. And more than that, I built a new life with my own hands, a promotion, a new home, hobbies rekindled, time with friends, a life that doesn't depend on family, a life where I'm not exploited, a life built on my own choices. That is my success. My relationship with my family, I'm rebuilding it, on my terms, at my pace. Forgiveness and boundaries can coexist. Outside the window, city lights began to flicker on, one by one. My small condo's light was part of that constellation. My phone buzzed. A message from Cassandra. Can you come next Sunday? Lily's been asking about her aunt laughing emoji. I smiled. I typed a reply. I think I can make it. No emoji. But it was enough. If you've listened this far, thank you. If you're someone who's been worn down by unreasonable expectations, or by the phrase, but we're family, don't be afraid to draw boundaries. Kindness doesn't mean erasing yourself. It grows from within, from the place where you honor who you are. Protecting yourself isn't cruelty. It's necessary strength. Strength to survive. Amanda lost the house, but she reclaimed herself. She earned a promotion. She bought a new home. She rebuilt her relationship with her family on her own terms. That's real success.